In this video, I'll be reviewing which year Suzuki RM250 is the best model year to buy, as well as break down the specific RM250 that I bought for my Throwback Two Stroke garage build shootout. What's going on, everyone? Greg Hitchko here, and if you're a Suzuki fan or even just a two-stroke fan, you came to the right place for today's video because I will be breaking down the Suzuki RM250, what's the best year to buy, and diving into the specific RM250 that I bought for my Throwback Two Stroke project. What sparked me to go down this rabbit hole about trying to figure out which model year RM Suzuki was the best to buy, because for my project I was really looking for the last gen RM250, but I was struggling to find the years that I wanted, 2006 and up, so I started researching earlier models to figure out if I really did need to buy a last gen model or if a 2001 and up would be okay to buy. So 2001 was really the last year that Suzuki made major changes to the bike. So from 2001 to 2008, the bike pretty much looks the same, but in between those years, they continued to refine and improve the model, and that's what I'm gonna break down for you guys now. So right off the bat, if you can find a 2001 and up, you're golden, but what I suggest finding is a 2004 and up, or even specifically a 2006 and up like I purchased for myself. So here are the reasons why I suggest looking for a 2004 and up model RM250. And the first reason is from 2001 to 2003, the RM250 had an external brake fluid reservoir that kind of ran up the frame and wasn't a part of the complete system like you see on normal bikes now. In this picture, you can see how the reservoir was up the frame compared to a new model now, which you're looking at, where the reservoir was housed in one place right behind the frame here. So aesthetically, you just have less parts with a 2004 and up because it's all housed in one place, and the brake functions a lot better with this new design. So now let's pop over to the engine changes that they made. Suzuki continued to refine their engine and make it better and better as each year went on. So in 2004, the bike had a monster bottom end, but it struggled on top. So what they did was they raised and adjusted the exhaust ports just a little bit to help produce more top end power. They also refined the squish adjustment, and if you guys don't know what squish is, the squish is the space between the top of the piston and the bottom of the dome of the top end. So by adjusting the squish, what they did was they helped free up revs at the higher RPMs of the motor. After the 2004 model in 2005, they continued to adjust these exhaust ports as well. They also added a heavier flywheel to the motor, because what this did is help the engine from stalling under hard braking. A heavier flywheel also helps torque in that mid-range part of the motor. And what most people don't know about a heavier flywheel is that it helps carry power into the upper and higher ranges, because the added weight of the flywheel helps that rotating momentum of the motor and helps get that power into the top end range. In 2006, again, they continued to make exhaust port changes to help complement the top and bottom end. In 2007, Suzuki still continued to make those exhaust port changes to improve power and torque in that mid to top RPM range. They also made a slight change to the way the engine was positioned inside the frame. What they did, they tilted it forward a little bit, which raised the drive sprocket 3 millimeters higher. And what this did was create a more stable movement between the frame and the swing arm to help increase the rear wheel traction to the back of the bike. So situations like whoops, or you're going through a really whooped out area, this is what that improved. So cool little change by Suzuki there. Flipping over to the suspension side of things, the reason why I suggest 04 and up is because in 2004, Suzuki switched from the KYB fork to a 47 millimeter Showa twin chamber fork, which in my opinion, in most people's opinion in the industry, is still a really solid fork. So the Suzukis in those years really had some of the best suspension out of all of the other models and brands in that era. In 2004, they also changed the fork offset from 22.5 millimeters to 24.5 millimeters, and they increased the trail of the front end, which helped increase straight line stability while maintaining that amazing coverability that the Suzukis had back in that time. In 2006, they made a pretty significant change to the frame, and what they did is they chopped the head tube completely off and moved it back 5 millimeters. So as a result of this, the engine ended up being moved closer to the front end of the bike, putting more weight on the front end of the bike just to help the thing corner a little bit better than it already did. So guys, as you know, by 2006, 2007, 2008, those are the years that we started seeing the two strokes become more extinct. In 2007, Suzuki continued to make slight improvements to the suspension, same fork, same shock. In 2008 was the last year that Suzuki made, and there were no changes from 2007 to 2008. So in summary, if you guys can find a 2001 to 2008 Suzuki, you're in great shape. If you can find a 2004 and up Suzuki RM250, you're in even better shape. But if you can find the rare unicorns that exist out there, a 2006 to 2008 RM250, you've really struck gold. And those are the best model year Suzuki RM250 that you can buy because they had the most refinement by them. Ricky Carmichael, championship winning rider on that bike. It handled the best, and the motor was absolutely spectacular. Switching gears a little bit to talk about mine, I was able to pick up 2006 RM250 at a great price. Definitely needs some work, but guys, let's dive into the garage right now and see what we got going on, and I will break down that bike for you and how much I paid for it. All right guys, here we are, we're back in the garage, and here she is, the 2006 RM250 that I picked up. So I picked this bad boy up for 2,000 bucks in West Virginia. So long story short, Samantha and I were driving back home to the holidays in Maryland. So I was on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace looking for Suzukis at the time, and voila, a 2006 popped up. So it was posted for 2,800, ended up getting the bike for $2,000, but let's kind of dive into it right now and see what the heck is going on with it. So starting from the top down, looks like we got some Cycro bark busters on it with some Renthal fat bars. I don't think this bike was used to race. It was more of like a farm and kind of field type of bike. The thing about the bike though is that it looks like it was kept outside and not really in a garage. Kind of as we dive down here, you can notice that the stock pipe on it is super rusty. If we get a little bit closer, looks like there's pine needles kind of like in there between the bottom end and the top end. The frame had some grip tape on it, but underneath the frame and kind of behind it, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of rust on it. It does have the oversized tank on it, which I'll be needing to swap out. If anybody has a stock RM250 tank, let me know. And you're looking for a big one, might be able to swap out with you, or I'll buy it off of you there. So there's kind of some other parts of the bike that were rusted, kind of like this brake pedal, the pin for the foot peg, diving up underneath, the linkage is all kind of nasty, and kind of moving back on to the back side. The rear rotor is rusted up. Hopefully I don't have an issue with getting the rear axle out here, or have an issue with the chain adjusters being rusted inside the swing arm, because that can certainly happen, but that kind of looks a little bit rusty. Obviously we're gonna need some new tires on this. This thing is shot and kind of dry rotted, but looking up here from the back side of it, clearly hasn't been washed. Still got the stock silencer on there. All right, so flipping over to the other side of the bike, check out what's going on with this side. Kind of started the front end again. With the suspension, definitely got some work to do, as it looks like the fork seals are just completely blown on this thing. You can kind of see how the dirt is all wet and nasty all the way down to the bottom of the fork lug there. Get a look at the other side of this pipe, wicked rusty. I am going to see if we can revive this bad boy and make it look fresh like a factory pipe. Kind of where it connects to the motor, you can see in there as well, a little bit rusty, so hopefully we don't have any issues. The radiators are not bent. Doesn't seem like there's any play in the steering stem bearings, which is good. Kind of rolling back down to this side of the motor here, the ignition side. You know, it's just kind of dirty overall, you know. It's a little bit oily, but not too crazy. You can see that the sprocket is a little bit rusted up in there. I'm gonna get this frame powder coated, and you can really see the rust that's forming on this side of the frame. We are gonna get a fresh Electron carb on that. Moving back to this side, the chain and sprockets. Definitely swapping out chain and sprockets with the Mika metal setup. This side is where I'm worried about the most, about getting the chain adjusters out, and we can clean up this axle with the Prime MX pads. But overall, the swing arm really actually isn't in bad shape. Throw the Prime MX pads to those as well and get that shining up looking brand new. Foot peg on this side looking okay. We can see that it had a frame guard on it that looks like it was chopped off and broken off. I don't really know what the heck happened there, but yeah, overall guys, that is the bike. 2,000 bucks for this 2006 RM250. There was a couple 2006s that were for sale here in Utah. One was like for 2,800 and the other one was for $3,000. And these guys definitely knew what they had in the bike and didn't want to budge on the price. And I just wasn't willing to spend that much. So when I came across this bike and was able to negotiate $2,000 out of it, I think that is a win. Let me know guys what you think about that. Did I get a good deal on this bike or not? And leave a comment below on what you're most excited about to see out of this bike. But I know you guys want to hear this baby run, so I'm gonna throw some gas in it and see if I can get this thing fired up for you guys. Also, anybody else start their bike with their boot on so they don't just rip their calf muscle off with their Kickstarter? I do. Okay, another pleasant find that I just found with this bike is that, look at this. threw some gas in it and it is dripping somewhere maybe from the petcock. So I'm gonna see if I can start this thing real quick and then drain the gas back out of this tank. Man, this thing is leaking like crazy, holy crap. Whoa. First kick, are you serious? Wow, I am impressed by that. Now I need to go drain the freaking gas out of this bad boy, but sweet, pumped on it. Sounds strong too. All right guys, flipping back over to the office. My hands smell like gas. I have a pro tip and I have a fun fact for you guys. Pro tip is don't start your two-stroke dirt bike in the garage when your wife is on a conference call right inside. And I'm just revving the crap out of the bike in the garage and Samantha comes out and opens the door and it's like, hey. I'm on a call and can't hear anything. So pro tip, don't start your dirt bike when your wife's on a conference call inside. Fun fact, which I don't recommend, that was actually the first time that the bike had gas in it and started it in my possession. So when I went to go look at the bike, there was no gas for me to start it, so I didn't hear it run. And I don't recommend that, guys, when you're buying a bike, but at this point, I had searched for so many bikes, I knew that I was gonna be completely tearing it down. So if there was something wrong with it, I was gonna find it. Also, when I was there, I checked for the compression and the Kickstarter had a ton of compression and didn't seem weak or anything. So I wasn't worried about not hearing the bike run at the time I went to go purchase it. But anyway, that's the RM250. So if you guys are in the market for an RM250, those are the years I suggest buying. You guys saw the breakdown of my RM250, my 2006 RM250 for the Throwback Two Stroke Garage Build Shootout. And if you guys want a chance to win that RM250, at the end of the project, I will be giving that away. So stay tuned. You want to subscribe and also follow me on Instagram for the most recent updates on that. But for now, I'm excited to dive into this RM250, guys, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.